This is the most affectionate war film I have ever seen. This film is called The War Horse, and Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, known together as the Trilogy of War. Story begins. The father of the male lead auctioned off a fine horse for a staggering £30 and returned home. Mother strongly opposes, because although this horse is handsome, but not suitable for arable land. Moreover, the family is almost unable to afford the rent. Mother quickly asked her father to sell this horse, except for him, who is willing to spend £30 to buy a pony that cannot be cultivated. Wife said, "Give your grandfather a month of training. If he can't, he personally went to sell it." The father and son agreed. Mother said again, "Which brain disability is it, with you shouting up to £30? Father said it was their landlord, the male owner, who started training the pony, and named him Joey. The male lead just needs a whistle. Joey moved at the command. A few days later, the landlord has come to collect the money. He threatened to say, if Joey can't reclaim that rocky wasteland, take him away. Isn't this unrealistic? The male lead reluctantly harnessed Joey, forcing him to leave the ground. So under the command of the male lead, Joey has cultivated that wasteland. To prove for oneself who cannot leave the ground, it also solved the crisis for the whole family. The newly cultivated land has been planted with vegetables, waiting for the defenture salad of assorted fresh vegetables. Another heavy rain once again dampened the hope of the family. Vegetable fields destroyed. The family has returned to the original point. A piercing bell sounded. World War I. Germany launched a fierce attack on Britain. For the sake of livelihood, the male lead's father sold Joey to a captain in the cavalry team. The male lead disagrees with his closest partner leaving him, but the captain used promises between men, promised to take good care of Joey. At the moment of departure, the male lead takes out a triangular scarf full of honor as a token, and say, no matter where Joey goes, I will always find Joey, and take him home to the cavalry regiment. Joey met a warhorse named Little Black. The superior's vision is indeed good. Joey and Little Black are the best two horses in the cavalry company. The other horses were left far behind by them. This day, the British planned to launch a surprise attack around the rear of the German defense line. Joey and Little Black are charging ahead on the battlefield. But what the British cavalry did not expect was, the German army deployed heavy machine gun in the woods early. This raid turned into a massacre. The cavalry were completely destroyed. A few days later, the male lead's family received a letter from the battlefield. Inside is a sketch of Joey that has not yet been materialized and news of his sacrifice. The whole family was deeply saddened to see this news. Switch the screen to the battlefield. German officers are about to order the shooting of these captured horses. At this point, a young soldier proposed, these Malays can be used to transport the wounded. But the officer said, these war horses are naturally proud. I won't cooperate with pulling the car, keep them useless. At this moment, Joey is dragging the reins and running over. Actively cooperate with soldiers to put on their horses. That's it, Joey and Little Black survived. Not long after, the German army needs to send an additional group of soldiers to support the front line. The soldier responsible for overseeing Joey, I learned that my 14-year-old brother is on this list. He knows how unlucky his brother's trip is, and he promised his mother before enlisting, after the end of the war, I will take my younger brother back safely. So on the night the troops set out, escaped with my younger brother, the two of them galloped for several hours on their war horses, come to a mill for the night. But in the early morning, their commander brought his troops to the mill, found these two young deserters. A few mournful gunshots rang out. 2 young lives fell into a foreign land like this. The next day, little girl Xiaomei discovered 2 war horses. The little girl's parents died in the flames of war. Grandpa and he are interdependent. The appearance of Joey and Little Black, adding sunshine to the little girl's life. Xiaomei made delicious food for them, and even asked them to cross the hurdles. But Joy's high school doesn't know how to hurdle. 2 war horses welcomed a moment of tranquility under the flames of war. Good times do not last long. The German army came and took all the food. Grandpa begged them to leave a horse behind. But the officer said, war took everything away. People have to go all out. Horses also have to work hard. The soldiers took away Joe and Little Black, leave behind helpless Xiaomei and Grandpa. 2 war horses returned to the battlefield. Waiting for them will be a hellish torment. Here, horses are used to pull cannons, tons of cannons. Many horses can't last for a month. The large pit on the side is filled with similar war horses. Another horse has fallen. The officer gave him a shot without hesitation. It's time for Xiaohei to go. Fortunately, they met a kind-hearted veteran. Xiaomei gave Xiaohei a new name, Prince, and pleaded with the officer to change a horse. Because Xiaohei has already been injured, the officer said not to name things that are destined to be lost. Because once a relationship is established, it can be very painful to truly lose. At this point, Joey ran up to the officer with all his might, saved the Little Black cannon once again, pulled up to the mountaintop. Joey's horse has worn out, trembling and trembling, eyes filled with anger. Joey doesn't understand why humans bomb their own kind. The 1918 war is nearing its end. At this time, the male lead has already joined the army and enlisted. He always remembers the promise he made to Joey. Smoke filled the air. Amidst the flames of war, artillery shells made the soldiers in the trenches bleed with flesh and blood. With the sound of the attack horn, young lives fall down one by one. They repelled the German army. I haven't had time to catch my breath yet. The trench was bombed with a gas bomb. The male lead is shrouded in poison gas. Life and death are uncertain. On the other side, the German army is retreating to another position. At this point, Joey and Little Black are also scarred and bruised. The veteran requested the officer to let them rest. In exchange for a scolding, exhausted Little Black's gentle kiss, the veteran bid farewell and he fell down. After a few mournful cries, he's free. The German army was constantly defeated and retreated. The veteran was forcibly taken away by his companions. Stay with Joey for a long time and refused to leave. At this point, a tank approaches. Joey was forced to step down. He finally learned how to hurdle. Joey crossed the icy wall. The machine started running around. He walked through the raging flames of war, through despair and fear, rampage in the trenches. It dares not stop, otherwise, I won't be able to go home again. The next day, a British soldier discovered it. On the other side, the German army also discovered a battlefield where soldiers couldn't believe it had already been destroyed by gunfire. Joey miraculously survived. They started calling out to Joey, "Everyone!" At this point, British soldiers holding white flags to discuss. Both sides suspended the truce. At the same time, a German soldier with pliers arrived. Two people working together to rescue Joey, selecting Joey's ownership through coin placement. When leaving, gentleman's handshake. War is merciless. They are warm. Actually, no one wants war, they all have to. Joey followed the British soldiers to the rescue station. What he doesn't know is, the male lead is also here, in order to retrieve Joey. The male lead has arrived at the front line, but because of the poison gas released by the German army, it hurt my eyes. Their peers seem to be arranged in a mysterious way. The male protagonist learned from his comrade that a miraculous horse had arrived. I just blew my own unique whistle. At this point, Joey was seriously injured. Abandoned treatment by a doctor. Prepare for execution. When he heard the familiar whistle, he was surprised. Believe in your own ears. But when you see the male lead Joey groping towards you, he's full of joy. I've been wandering around for a few years, finally encountering the person who gave the promise again. They embraced each other, and as a result, Joey, who retrieved his owner, was spared the execution. Get medical help. Keep living. The bell rings again. The end of the war. At this point, a strange rule came out. The horses that are not officers will be auctioned off. Trading once again faces the fate of being auctioned off. The male lead is also being pieced together by his comrades. Save enough money to capture Joey and kill Ching Yojin halfway. Zimai's grandfather bought her granddaughter's beloved playmate for 3 times the price. When Grandpa was about to take Joey away, Joey broke free from the reins, walked up to the male lead. The old man understands. The male lead is Joey's true master. The old man took out the battle flag that had been tied to Joey from his pocket. The old man said, if Xiaomei is still alive, he would do the same thing. The male lead and Joey embark on the journey back home, under the setting sun. At this moment, Joey's weathered and weathered. Physical and mental exhaustion. The Warhorse truly deserves its name. The Warhorse is a work released by Steven Spielberg in 2011. The film is adapted from children's novels and stage plays of the same name. The interesting short comments about this movie are great. If you are moved by him, it means you still believe in human nature. Warhorses symbolize purity in human nature. He witnessed the cruelty and ugliness of war. What moved me the most was when Joey was trapped in a deserted area on the battlefield. The warring parties chose to let go of their hatred. Let go of your anger and save Joey. The goodness of that person's nature is aroused. Warhorses awaken the softest thing in human hearts. Actually, everyone is a unity of angels and demons. Zitzi, greed, kindness, and innocence accompanied like a shadow. Okay. This concludes the current period. Remember to pay attention to Xiao Kai in the film Wilderness. More exciting in the next issue.